Spain was on a roll. From the early 2000s, its economy boomed. Growth was rapid, jobs were plentiful. Spain felt invincible. The country had recently adopted the euro, which seemed to signal a new era of prosperity. Money flowed freely. International investors saw Spain as a land of opportunity. Things were good. Too good, as it would turn out. The euro played a key role in Spain's economic boom. It lowered interest rates and made borrowing cheaper. This fueled a construction frenzy. Foreign money poured in, eager to capitalize on the booming real estate market. Everyone wanted a piece of the Spanish dream. But this influx of cash masked a dangerous reality. Much of Spain's growth was built on debt, not on a solid economic foundation. The Spanish housing market became a bubble of epic proportions. Prices soared to unsustainable levels. People took on massive mortgages, believing prices would only go up. Developers built at a breakneck pace, fueled by easy credit and insatiable demand. But the foundations of this prosperity were shaky. The boom was built on speculation, not real economic growth. Adding fuel to the fire were the risky lending practices of Spanish banks. They doled out mortgages like candy, with little regard for borrowers' ability to repay. These subprime loans were then bundled together and sold off as complex financial instruments. When the music stopped and the bubble burst, these toxic assets would spread the pain far beyond Spain's borders. Section 5. The crash of 2008. Spain feels the heat. The global financial crisis of 2008 hit Spain hard. The housing bubble burst. Property prices plummeted. Mortgages went underwater. The once booming real estate market, which had been a cornerstone of Spain's economic growth, crumbled almost overnight. Families who had invested their life savings into homes found themselves in dire straits as the value of their properties dropped dramatically. The dream of home ownership turned into a nightmare for many. Banks teetered on the brink of collapse. Financial institutions that had once been considered pillars of stability were suddenly facing insolvency. The Spanish banking sector, heavily exposed to the real estate market, was particularly vulnerable. As property values fell, the collateral for many loans became worthless, leading to a cascade of defaults. The government had to step in with bailouts to prevent a complete financial meltdown. This intervention, however, came at a significant cost, both financially and politically. Unemployment soared, especially among young people. The youth, who had been the driving force behind Spain's economic dynamism, were now facing an uncertain future. With job opportunities drying up, many young Spaniards were forced to leave the country in search of work elsewhere. This brain drain had long-term implications for Spain's economic recovery. The social fabric of the nation was also strained, as families struggled to support unemployed members and communities faced increasing levels of poverty and discontent. The Spanish economy, once a poster child for European integration, went into a tailspin. The promise of prosperity that had come with joining the European Union seemed like a distant memory. Economic indicators plummeted across the board. GDP contracted, investment dried up, and consumer confidence was shattered. The austerity measures implemented to stabilize the economy only added to the public's woes, leading to widespread protests and social unrest. The crisis exposed deep structural weaknesses in the Spanish economy that would take years to address. The party was over, and the hangover was brutal. The aftermath of the crisis left a lasting scar on Spain. Recovery was slow and painful. It took years for the housing market to stabilize and for employment levels to recover. The crisis also led to significant political changes as disillusioned voters turned away from traditional parties in search of new solutions. The lessons learned from this period would shape Spain's economic policies for years to come, as the nation worked to rebuild and ensure such a catastrophe would never happen again. Section 6. The long road to recovery, unemployment and debt. The aftermath of the crash was brutal. Businesses shuttered their doors, and the once bustling streets of Spain's cities fell eerily silent. The economic landscape was transformed almost overnight, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Spain faced a long and painful road to recovery. The lines at job centres grew longer each day, filled with individuals from all walks of life, desperate for employment. The sense of despair was palpable as families struggled to make ends meet and the social fabric of the nation began to fray. Unemployment skyrocketed, particularly among young people. The youth, who once harbored dreams of bright futures, found themselves disillusioned and frustrated. Protests erupted across the country, with young people demanding opportunities and a chance to build their lives. Parks and public spaces became gathering points for the disenchanted, where the air was thick with a sense of lost potential. The construction industry, once a major engine of growth, ground to a halt. Cranes stood motionless against the skyline, and half-finished buildings became stark reminders of the economic collapse. The sector that had driven so much of Spain's prosperity was now a symbol of its downfall, with countless projects left in limbo and workers left without jobs. Government debt ballooned as bailouts and stimulus measures were deployed. In an effort to stabilize the economy, the Spanish government took on massive amounts of debt. Financial reports painted a grim picture, and officials were often seen in heated discussions, trying to navigate the treacherous waters of economic recovery. The burden of debt weighed heavily on the nation's future. Spain, once a symbol of European prosperity, became a cautionary tale of overheated growth and reckless lending. The country's landmarks, which had once attracted tourists from around the world, now stood as somber reminders of what had been lost. News coverage of the crisis was relentless, and the narrative of Spain's fall from grace became a topic of global discussion. The journey to recovery was not just about rebuilding the economy, but also about restoring hope and confidence in a nation that had been deeply shaken. Section 7. Echoes of Spain, a warning for the world. Spain's experience serves as a stark warning to the world. It highlights the dangers of unsustainable debt-fueled growth. It shows how quickly a booming economy can turn sour when built on shaky foundations. And it underscores the importance of sound financial regulation and responsible lending practices. The world took notice, but did it learn its lesson? Section 8. Australia and Canada. Teetering on the edge. Today, countries like Australia and Canada are facing eerily similar challenges. Their housing markets are overheated, fueled by low interest rates and speculative investment. Household debt has reached record highs. The parallels with Spain are striking. Are these countries headed for their own crashes? Only time will tell, but the warning signs are flashing red. Section 9. Lessons from the rubble managing debt and credit. So, what can we learn from Spain's economic roller coaster? First and foremost, we must manage debt carefully. Borrowing can fuel growth, but only if it's sustainable. Excessive debt, whether by individuals, businesses, or governments, can lead to disaster. We've seen this movie before, and the ending is rarely pretty. Section 10. The importance of regulation and oversight. Second, we need robust financial regulation and oversight. Lax lending standards and inadequate oversight played a key role in the Spanish crisis. We must learn from their mistakes and ensure that our financial systems are resilient and well regulated. This means cracking down on risky lending practices and ensuring that banks are well capitalized to weather economic storms. Section 11. Spain's story, a cautionary tale for global growth. Spain, a country known for its rich history, vibrant culture, and beautiful landscapes, has also experienced significant economic highs and lows. Its journey offers valuable lessons for the global community. Spain's economic journey is a cautionary tale for our times. In the early 2000s, Spain experienced a period of rapid economic growth, driven by a booming real estate market and easy access to credit. The country seemed to be on an unstoppable upward trajectory, with new construction projects springing up everywhere and the stock market reaching new heights. It reminds us that economic growth, however impressive, is not an end in itself. The Spanish economy grew at an impressive rate, but this growth was built on shaky foundations. The real estate bubble, fueled by speculative investments and lax lending standards, eventually burst, leading to a severe economic downturn. It must be built on solid foundations, sustainable debt levels, responsible lending practices, and a diversified economy. Spain's over-reliance on the construction sector and the lack of diversification in its economy made it particularly vulnerable when the bubble burst. The banking sector, heavily exposed to bad loans, faced a crisis of confidence, and the broader economy suffered as a result. If we ignore these lessons, we risk repeating Spain's mistakes, with potentially devastating consequences. The aftermath of the crisis saw a sharp increase in unemployment, widespread foreclosures, and a significant contraction in economic activity. Protests erupted as people demanded accountability and solutions to the economic hardships they faced. Let's hope the world is paying attention. The Spanish experience serves as a stark reminder of the importance of prudent economic management and the dangers of unchecked growth. As global economies continue to navigate the complexities of the modern financial landscape, the lessons from Spain's story are more relevant than ever. By learning from Spain's experience, we can strive to build more resilient and sustainable economies for the future. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And for more fascinating insights, check out our video titled "The Surprising Way to Outsmart Your Competition." Discover the hidden strategies behind every decision and learn how to outsmart your competition. Thanks for watching.